On another screen, I will call up the YouTube page, put that in the chat so you can see where to go to. See. We'll see what he's actually at another cybersecurity conference in the San Jose area, and I can't remember what it is. It may be S4. My memory is failing me. I think he told me that he was at S4 today, so we'll have to ask him, and we'll actually have to see what he's if his new evangelistic focus is on sensors that have a back door in them, like the transformer that was built in China. Let's see. So let's see. I'm going to call up the Richland page. Somebody else wants to talk, they can while I'm doing that, because I can't walk and chew gum at the same time. So I find it difficult to call up a separate page and then share the page. So
Brad, could I speak on a couple of topics before we get started?
Yes.
Started cybersecurity. I was watching YouTube. I don't know if anybody here is aware of it. There was a breach by a contractor doing the super top secret network for the Defense Department and operational military operations, and it was approved by an agency called NDIS, and they caught the guy, and he did it for basically $2 million in crypto. He only got to burn through 1 million. The second million they snatched, intercepted it. The program that he sabotaged or treasonously was 240 million. Plus, his company was damaged. They had 9 other Defense Department contracts. Who knows what happened to those poor folks? Okay, that's number one. Number two. Let me see if I can remember it. It's escaped my mind right now. I'm sorry. Let's see. I'll come back to it when I can. Sorry. Go ahead, Brad.
Okay. Well, I just put the shared screen on, so when I logged in to connect, and get down to communities to get to our section homepage. I guess we'll plan on having the next year, I guess it's December 3rd, 2026 for the Richland area technical holiday party. And so let's see.
Okay. I just remembered, Brad, when I interrupt, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Advise me.
Yeah.
It's current events. I worked with a lot of colleagues in Saudi Arabia. Bechtel is pulling all their people out of Saudi Arabia. And I just keeping in touch with these people the last few days. You know, all the missiles are hitting various buildings and defense
Wow.
facilities and all that, but they decided to pull all Americans, maybe all Bechtel employees, expat employees, non-Saudi employees out of Arabia. I saw some of the buses picking up people. He showed me something. So I just thought I'm following that. That's where my number one focus is. Okay, that's all I had. Thanks.
Recording will be up on my personal YouTube with the others, which the last couple, and the alarm management from 9 months ago.
Oh.
That would have been I think that was May. But gonna go to the chat here. You can go to the chat and see where the recording will be at. So
it's Brad S. Carlberg.
well, there's a link. So if you go to the chat and just double click on the link, it'll bring up the page.
Okay.
So www.youtube.com/amp or the @ Brad S. Carlberg.
Can you drop that link in chat?
Yeah, I'm trying to do that here. I've got the I can't scroll down, and there I couldn't get the send signal. Got to update that picture. That picture is about 9 years old. So I look like I'm storing nuts in my cheeks for the winter, as a squirrel would do.
Well, you look younger on your photo, your picture currently. So
Yeah.
You lost 9 years of age after you got out of the intense work environment.
No, I also cut off 30 pounds.
Oh.
So I'm not a little Pillsbury doughboy. But let's see. Well, let's see. You want to wait for some more people? We've only got 8 people here, and Joe, are you eating your lunch? And Patrick Cooley.
I'm here.
So,
but I'll be on mute unless you need me.
well, let's see. Any new developments? I guess I want to ask you if there's anything new danger, like the sensors embedded in foreign-made products, like that Chinese transformer. And I also want to ask Lori to see if there's any new developments. You're no longer on the executive board of IISSCC, but you still probably have your ear quite in focus with it, I imagine. So new developments for that. Let's see on the shared screen. I'm going to put the Richland section page in the chat, so you can, Chad, when you get, you can ask me for all kinds of as much help as you want if you want to become president, and Udo can echo the fact that Ed Vodapest and I. Say that again?
Yeah, say first. Oh, I didn't say. I was waiting for you to finish. Sorry.
You didn't
Looks
see
like some background noise.
What did you say, Chad?
I was just waiting for you to finish. I didn't say anything yet. I think it might be background noise from the office here.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So, well, I guess we can get the recording and people can watch it later. I guess, Joe, I'll give ladies first. Lori can tell us a little bit about ISC squared and what she's doing in P&L for cybersecurity. And
Sure, I'm happy to do that. I actually put
Yeah.
some slides together on some
Yeah.
research we're doing, if you want me to walk through some slides.
sure,
Okay,
take
let me
the
go ahead and-
screen away. When
see
you
if I
share it,
can-
it'll take it away
Okay.
from me. And
Sure,
that's
I'm
okay.
happy to, take it away from you. Let's see.
Yeah.
Arg. Sometimes it doesn't, okay, sorry. I missed my window here. Hang on just a sec. Too many pop-ups.
Maybe if
Okay.
I,
To present, slide, select, and share. Oh, PowerPoint Live isn't available to you on this platform. So
damn
I
it,
guess I'm just gonna see if I
I'm
can
gonna-
share my screen and
yeah,
do it that way. It isn't as glamorous for sure.
there.
Well, it's not pretty. Not pretty at all. I prefer to use the, let's see if we can put this window. All right. So some research, I think everybody here knows what the Pacific Northwest National Lab is, so I'll go ahead and skip that slide. And I'll just skip that slide. Sadly, because it's not in presentation mode, the slides I've hidden are not being hidden, so you'll just have to bear with me. But so some of the work what we're doing is trying to assist the energy sector with resilient or complementary timing if GNSS, or here in the US we use GPS, became unavailable. So here's a snapshot back from 2025, I think, showing the Baltic areas. And you can see even back then there was quite a bit of jamming going on, and now with the Ukraine war, obviously it's just magnified, and then now with the Iran event, there's tons of jamming and spoofing going on. So how does that affect the energy sector is really the question that we're looking at right now. So this snapshot here is from 2024, and you can see obviously the Baltic and the European states over on the right-hand side of my picture. But even on the left in the US, we were already suffering from spoofing and jamming events. And I don't have a newer picture of this, but I'm sure it's just accelerated. So I need to update these pictures, but I just want to kind of plant that in people's minds. So we're thinking, well, what do I care about GPS? What do I use it for? I think you can probably rattle off some in your mind, being an engineer or being in this space. Obviously, position and navigation are very important. How do you know where you're going? How do you know where you've been? How do you do communications? But timing is so important too for the timestamps. Especially in the energy sector, is we need that information for situational awareness. Even if we lost GPS or a timing capability on one part of the US, those interconnections, we need to be able to understand when events occurred and what the grid is doing across those interconnects to make good decisions about how we're going to run the US grid. So that's why it's important. Is we're getting to the point where things are happening at a much faster rate. We're happening at the millisecond, the microsecond, and even traveling wave faults are happening at the 500 nanosecond level. So having that precise time is very critical to the energy sector. I often say that the energy sector is little p, little n, big T. Timing is primarily what we care about, mostly because substations don't move. If they do move, we probably have another issue going on, which I can talk about later. But the bulk electric system is really dependent on GPS right now here in the US. And we need things like time of day. We use the IRIG-B, which is derived from that GPS at the substation level. And then we think about the things that are going on that time is susceptible to. Obviously, we have man-made but natural interruptions as well, like solar flares. We've even had cases in the US where a utility was connected and the GPS was down for this particular set of satellites was down for maintenance, and they notified the users you need to move over to a different set of satellites, and they didn't do that. They stayed on the ones under maintenance, and suddenly everything is skewed and all their situational awareness data is no longer reliable. So those things have happened. Obviously, we have jamming, which is where the signal is interfered with and you lose it. But we also have spoofing, where the signal is overpowered and someone then convinces you to, typically maliciously, to join their signal. And you're now using maybe a malicious signal. But we also have other risks that we want to think about. Obviously, right now with the conflicts going on, there's a lot of reasons that countries are either jamming or spoofing their own signals for protection, or they're attempting to jam or spoof a signal from a neighboring country. So those are happening. We also have that over-reliance on a single source. Like most things in the energy sector and with control systems and industrial systems, we want to use that belt and suspenders, right? We want to have multiple layers, multiple options with which to get our resources. So having only one time source like GPS can put the systems at risk. So we definitely want to have complementary or additional time sources that we can roll over to. I've talked a lot. Feel free to blurt out questions if you have them. This is a conversation. It doesn't have to just be me showing you slides.
Yeah, I didn't know the GPS was also used to provide time updates. I thought it was coming through like NTP or something else.
Yeah, so that's a great point, Udo, is that NTP doesn't have the level of precision that substations need. So, but it is used in the energy sector. So this is a picture showing you, I wish I had a pointer. This is the other problem I hate about Teams. It should just give me a pointer. Here's some places, these yellow boxes, where time is used in the energy sector, typically like at a substation level. But obviously up here in the upper corner, we have GPS, which is our precision time, or your GNSS, depending where you are. We have the internet time. Maybe you're getting it from NIST, you're getting it over radio signal. At the enterprise, the IT enterprise level, there's NTP, the network time protocol. But then we need things that are much more precise at the operations level. Again, we're getting to that nanosecond, microsecond level. So we need greater precision. We're using it for monitoring and automation control. And then even lower on the Purdue model, if you will, we need it down at the synchrophaser or PMU level. And that's where things are getting much more digitally connected, and having that good situational awareness prevents or eliminates the need to roll a truck. They can get that information over the digital communications at the operations center, make those decisions. And then also they may be getting it over cellular or radio signal. So those are just some of the places that you would find time in the energy sector. So the back in 2020, under the first Trump administration, there was an executive order called 13905, and that directed all the federal agencies to look at strengthening PNT resilience. So of the 14 critical infrastructure sectors, energy obviously is one of them, and we went ahead and PNL was instrumental in writing what we call the PNT profile for the energy sector. DHS is actually leading that effort. DOE is partnering then with DHS. DOE was actually the first sector to get their profile written and made available to utilities. And then NIST is obviously very active in that space, and DHS is directing NIST to ensure that the guidance and documentation is available then, as well as the resources. DOT is also very active in this space. They recently awarded a phase 2 grant, if you will. They had a bake-off about a year or two ago with many organizations that were looking to put their capabilities out there, primarily looking at positioning navigation. Timing is obviously a piece of that in that P&T triad. And now they're funding 5 companies or capabilities to look at what could be an alternative to GPS, or to back up GPS if it becomes available for an extended period of time, whether that's hours, days, weeks, a month. You know, how long could we be out without GPS, and what would we rely on instead? So some of those are I'll talk about here in a minute. So some capabilities that are available now are the low Earth orbit, so those satellite constellations. There's also the fiber optic network, which is connecting the systems, and that's taking time basically at the speed of light, right? And that's the IEEE 1588 P2P, or Precision Time Protocol. There's also some holdover oscillators that are gaining popularity, looking at that atomic clock, whether it's cesium, rubidium, iridium, and those have a very long holdover, but they're expensive. And then they have these hybrid systems we're looking at, which would be maybe a terrestrial-based system as a local source, and then maybe also dependent on one of the others that we've already talked about. So some emerging capabilities that actually PNNL is looking at, and we're actually going to be testing. Some folks on this call maybe remember LORAN-C or ELORAN. There's actually a test going on right now with the Air Force Research Lab as well as DOT, looking at ELORAN as an option. So that would be completely terrestrial-based alternative as opposed to using a satellite-based system. There's actually 3 transmitters in the Northwest that we're actually testing here at PNNL, testing the receiver equipment. There's also a capability called Broadcast Positioning System that's being put out by the National Broadcasters Association. And that's basically taking the transmitters across the US to ATSC 3.0, the digital television standard. This is pretty interesting. They actually were able to do some testing at the Las Vegas Convention Center last year. They had a transmitter a couple hundred miles away, and they were able to use antennas inside a building, which is nice. Some organizations don't want to have to the cost and the maintenance of mounting antennas outside the building. So things that you can keep your antennas inside are a lot easier to maintain. You can keep visual inspection on them. You don't have to drill holes in your buildings, that type of thing. So that's something to think about too. Another one is using cellular or 5G. So that works really well in high density areas where there's a lot of cell towers or a lot of 5G or 6G already. So leveraging that ultra low latency network is another option we're looking at. And then this GPS Chimera, which is a next gen GPS signal, which is looking at a cryptographic authentication. And that kind of helps with the problem of, could it be spoofed? How do you prevent it from being spoofed? So that's a great option too, especially when our near peers may want to intercept our GPS signal. So PNNL has stood up a test bed to evaluate some of these capabilities, and we're working with the OEMs on that. It's what we call a high fidelity substation emulations. It's basically a rack dedicated to substation equipment, and then the test equipment we need to develop that environment of the substation and the signal, and then we can bring in that OEM equipment and test it we're only testing it to the standards that they profess to adhere to, but also to use cases unique to the energy sector. So we have our GNS simulator, we have jamming and spoofing capability, and then the first capability we're going to be testing is actually ELRAN, because I mentioned those transceivers are stood up in the Northwest and active right now. And they'll be active, I think, through 26. So we need to get on that. So in this picture, you can see a logical diagram of our layout of our test bed, but also down here in the right-hand corner, this is the roof of one of our buildings, which has a test harness just for antennas, which is great. So we can easily attach those antennas. We have conduit to run the cabling through that runs into the building. And we can then ensure and test that to ensure that our antennas or any of the receivers are not conflicting with each other as well. There's not any noise there, so that's kind of nice. So I talked about we have this project that we're looking at. We're working with the OEMs and partners. So we're really looking at those folks that are developing alternatives to GPS. These are pretty high TR level capabilities, meaning they're probably already existing in other sectors, but maybe they haven't considered the energy sector. And so we're looking to find those folks, educate them about the energy sector, in particular the precision that's needed at the energy sector, but also how the energy sector works, and that the equipment will stick around 10, 20, 30 years. And making capital investments or swapping out equipment isn't always feasible. So ensuring that it works with the equipment that's already installed, especially at the substation level. And then we have another project that's kind of what I call a bookend project, and that's where we're working directly with utilities, and we're trying to help them put in their roadmaps to have resilient time, complementary time to GPS. What are they going to use for a backup? And this is a unique project. It's called a technical assistance project. We can actually buy equipment for the utilities, especially if they're willing to do some field test and validation for us, and we can share those results back to the energy sector. So I mentioned we had a couple reports we put out, the one being the PNT profile. We also did what I call a landscape assessment of all the precision time capabilities that are currently available in the US. Both of them are currently in review for public release, but that's really a compendium of all of them. It's about a 150-page document. So really interesting stuff. Got some references. That's all I got. Thanks so much.
Question? Or we're going to go to the next speaker? Brad, are we going to the next speaker, or
We can.
are we going to have allow questions on
Yeah,
this
we
subject?
can have questions now.
I saw on your graphics you were tying into the historian and into basically the control system in some manner. What hardware are you? And you have to have an antenna to strengthen the GPS signal. Is that the purpose of the antennas? I'm trying to get the GPS signals into the DCS network. It would be for the control, all the timing on all the pages inside the DCS, but also the historian. Can you expand on that a little bit? I know our systems I put in are all based on the internet. So could you expand on your system? How the hardware, is it already developed? Is it readily available? And the final question I'll add to it, addendum to that is it nuclear, when they have the nuclear blast to take out all electronics, has that been factored into your study?
So that's a lot of questions right there. I'll see if I can address them all. We are not developing a capability. We are only testing capabilities that already exist. So we're looking for things that are already being used in the other sectors. The big sectors that typically use timing are going to be your financial sector and your IT sectors. Those are kind of the big gorillas in the room that drive these vendors and where they put their investments and where they're developing their products. So we're talking with those folks, those vendors, to see if they have the precision level to meet the needs of the energy sector. Your question about antennas, we have the ability to mount antennas outside. Several vendors have told us that inside antennas work. It hasn't really been our experience. I don't know if it's because we're located in Richland. I've heard of things that cause noise and interference, surprisingly, like fluorescent lights in some spaces, which BPA also said they've experienced. So for us, we just haven't had a lot of success with internally mounted antennas. They're all outside.
And the nuclear blast effects.
Oh, the EMP type thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are not one of the use cases that we came up with actually when we spoke to the energy sector. We actually worked with EPRI to help us identify the use cases. It wasn't one they brought up. Primarily, we're looking at things like working with synchrophasers, traveling wave. Trying to think of all the ones. I had a slide with all of them on there, but
Okay.
we have about 4 or 5 remedial action schemes. Trying to think of the others. So there's just a handful of them that we're looking at to try to ensure that that precision time is available for those use cases. But no, we didn't consider EMP.
So that means that a connection to an atomic clock is out of the equation, or that's going to phase away in the future.
So you're talking about like NIST atomic clock or purchasing our own atomic clock?
Yeah.
So having that connection, yeah, NIST does have that service. The cost to connect to their atomic clock is about $200,000. And then there's an annual fee for that as well. So it's really cost prohibitive for most utilities to take on that. Ratepayers typically don't want that added to their power bill for something like that, is what we found. So GPS is obviously the least expensive way to go because it's free. All you need is a receiver. The antennas themselves are, small. They're the size of a coffee can, if we even have those anymore. But yeah, I mean, everybody would love to have an atomic clock. It's just, they're very expensive. Even a cesium clock is going to run you, $100K. Rubidium, I think is around 75K. It just gets really cost prohibitive when you have to put one in every substation and you have a lot of substations.
Okay. Because I know the Navy connects to the atomic clock at the Naval Observatory in Washington, D.C., right?
Yeah, they
Yeah.
probably have a different budget than most of
Okay.
the local utilities.
All
Or
right.
they just get it because they're the Navy. I don't know.
Okay.
I've got a couple others. Starlink was for your internet connection.
Mhm.
I didn't see that mentioned. I was curious.
Yeah, that would be like your low Earth orbit type satellite. Yeah, I haven't named any products, vendor names.
Sorry about the interruption. Thank you.
No, it's fine. Thank you.
I can't kill it. I would shoot it right now. That's archaic landline system. AT&T though.
Hey, Lori, when Ed was asking about the EMPs, electromagnetic pulse, that recalled that in 2022, the movie came out, Grid Down, Power Up. I'm going to share a screen here, and your slide had the 4 grids: the Texas grid, and then the West Coast, and then Southern, and then Quebec, and but Texas Senator Bob Hall was quoting this. I actually recommended that when the 2022 ISA fall meeting was in Galveston, that we sent Ed to. I recommended to the ISA staff coordinators to bring down Texas Senator Bob Hall, who was pushing bills through the Texas legislature to fortify their grid. And here, this movie Grid Grid Down Power Up here. I'll put it in the chat. So, because y'all can watch that movie, Grid Down Power Up. Pretty good on the YouTube page here. Disaster waiting to happen. But Joe, are you ready? Can you start talking? Tell us what are you at S4 today?
No.
Or
Can you
what
hear
venue
me?
were you at?
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes? Can you all
Okay.
hear him?
I'm actually in San Jose, which means I didn't have to get on an airplane. And I'm at INL's Accelerate session, which is basically their cyber-informed engineering. It's a 2-day session, and we're obviously a day and a half through. But I wanted to bring up two things that have been missing for the past, since I've been involved, 26 years when it comes to control system cybersecurity. And it was even verified here, with the experts that are here. The first is dealing with level 0. In other words, the instrumentation, the sensors and actuators down at the, if you will, the physics layer. There is no cybersecurity. There is no authentication. There are no cyber forensics. And here's also the biggest thing. There is no cybersecurity training for these devices anywhere. The second big item is there is no training today to identify a control system incident as being cyber related. And these two, they're kind of, if you will, coordinated. But the biggest issue is these are probably some of the most fundamental, items you could have in the world of control system cyber. If you don't know that you've actually had a cyber incident, you're not going to start a cyber incident response program. Today, the vast majority of control system cyber incidents are actually considered to be glitches. And the problem is, and I was talking to any number of people here on this subject, is when it's a control system issue, the engineers are involved, but they don't look for cybersecurity. When it's a control system issue, the network security people generally do not get involved because it's not going to necessarily have an Ethernet packet issue. So the system is broken. I wanted to bring up one other thing in light of that. I've had, and I believe the industry has had, a very big problem trying to get the engineers and the network security people to work together. I am co-writing a paper with the CISO of a water utility. This is phenomenal. He's a believer. This is one of the biggest things of all. This is a PhD in cybersecurity. Like I say, he's the CISO of a major water utility. I'm not going to give his name. And he and I are writing a paper that I've been told will go into IEEE Computer Magazine. And what makes this absolutely unique and different than anything else, he is writing the chapter or the section on why IT won't work with security, or with engineering. And I'm writing the section on why engineering won't work with network security. This is unique. And the reason this is so important is this is not written by me or by him or by one entity. This is what's been missing for 26 years. When we first started the EPRI program back in 2000, we thought that this thing called donut diplomacy would work. In other words, either the engineers would take the security people, buy them donuts and coffee, or vice versa. And everybody would work, nicely together. Not only is it not working, it's getting worse. And one of the ways of seeing that is in the security world, there's this whole concept of OT. There isn't a university in the country that I'm aware of that offers a degree in OT. They offer degrees in electrical engineering, mechanical engineering, chemical engineering, nuclear engineering, civil engineering. None offer a degree in OT because outside of security, that's not what people are known for. Or no. The flip side is almost no universities require anybody in computer science to have to take an introduction to engineering. And like I say, almost no university, again, not all, but almost none, requires somebody in an engineering discipline to have to take an introductory course in cybersecurity. So we keep going round and round and round in circles. And when people basically have OT people there, generally, they're not the engineers. Generally, they're quote unquote network security. And we have to figure out how to break that, if you will, logjam. Any questions?
Let me ask you, if you remember ISA President Jerry Cockrell, I believe he had the instrumentation program at Illinois State or Indiana State. You remember Jerry? Did his program have any OT
Again,
instrumentation? Do you remember him?
Vaguely.
Yeah.
Remember that OT was a term coined by Gartner in 2006. Until 2006, you were either an engineer or you were IT. You're one or the other.
Yeah,
now we have this middle ground.
If you see this, here's a picture on the shared screen of Jerry Cockrell, Indiana State. He was a faculty.
Yeah.
So
I
Joe, I have
remember
a
his. Yeah, I remember his name.
Yeah.
Joe, I have a question for you. So you mentioned that some devices, like on the OT side, there's no cybersecurity there.
Yeah. Yep.
So I was wondering which level on the Purdue model those
Zero.
devices reside. But
Zero.
most of those devices on level 0, they are connected, they are hardwired to the PLCs, right? So let's say a sensor, a proximity sensor that is wired through, a 12 volts or 24 volts cable into the PLC. So I don't think there's any worry about anybody reaching those devices. I think we should be worried about the PLC on,
No.
level 1.
I disagree. And
Yeah,
the
because
reason
sometimes they're
is,
wired in wirelessly and they have an IP address, right?
well,
Sure.
my concern is this, and this is part of what I brought up even today, and it was like, oh, you're right. When it comes to cyber, everybody talks about digital. Analog is also cyber vulnerable, but nobody wants to talk about analog. Remember, the world starts as analog. Mother Nature is not digital. And all of the sensors, I shouldn't say all, many of the sensors require calibration, whether you're digital or analog. And many of the calibration tools are directly connected to the web. You're not getting away from level 0 having a cyber issue, period. It's regardless of what you're doing. And the point that was brought up, the PLC, you know, there's this term in the IT or OT world called zero trust. At the sensor level going to the PLC, it's 100% trust. That PLC does not care where that voltage or current or position or temperature, you know, value comes from. It just takes that value, assuming it must be coming from the sensor and assuming it must be correct, especially as long as it's within the quote unquote operating range. If you have, you know, say a 4 to 20 milliamp sensor, and it's say going 0 to 100 psi, you know, if it's 0, there's a problem. Generally, you know, if it's at 20 psi, there's a problem. But if it's somewhere toward the middle, you don't know whether that's correct or not correct. And let me also leave with this. Sensors have been used as cyber attack vectors. And Russia, China, and Iran are all absolutely aware of these issues. And these are not being addressed in about the only place it's been addressed, I'll rephrase it, is an ISA 8409. This has not been addressed in 99. So the 62443s, even though they will address level 0, the 62443-4-2, that's the component spec. None of those requirements will meet an existing level 0 sensor, even what being developed to this day. So everything that's there has to follow what's called compensating controls. 99 didn't do it. That's why we tried doing it within 8409. This is not, and here's the other point. Level 0 are not cybersecurity devices. They're engineering devices that have cyber sensitivity. The people that need to work on those are engineers. And this is what's really not occurring today. And you can pick an industry and you can pick a country or a region. What I've been seeing for the past day and a half is everything is really focused at the compromise, if you will, of an internet protocol, you know, an Ethernet packet. We're talking about what happens before any of this becomes an Ethernet packet.
I'm just holding things up on the shared screen. Back when I first watched this Frontline PBS Cyber War,
Yeah,
where they
well,
interviewed you and
yeah, long time ago.
Clinton's January or April 20. Now, yeah,
It was a long time ago. I remember that.
it was in 2020. This date of April 24th, 2003 was
Yeah.
when it was published, but it was
Yeah.
like in January of 2000. And this was the cyber war. They interviewed the first cyber czar, Mr.
Richard Clark.
Mr. Clark, and Joe. So
I was going to show you something. I think I have it. Well, I'm not sure. Richard wrote a book. It's called Warning, Finding Cassandras to Stop Catastrophes. And it wasn't a book on cybersecurity. There's just one chapter in it on cybersecurity. And I'm it by name.
yeah.
I never had anything like that when somebody wrote something, especially of his stature, about me, not where I'm writing something on my own. I remember meeting with him when he was interviewing me, but I didn't realize it was an interview in a sense, or it was for the book.
Yeah.
And it was fascinating. When I started bringing some of this stuff, he wasn't aware. And that's where we are to this day. You know, when I start talking about level 0 and the lack of being able to recognize a cyber incident, it's new to most everybody. And the people I talk to are really, really, really smart people that have been involved in all of this for years. And it's like, how can this be new?
Yeah.
And it continues to be.
But Udo, you have your doctorate in cybersecurity, and so they didn't really talk about OT. And Chad, you said computer science from Purdue.
Yeah, my topic was OT related. I could not find a professor to be my supervisor because nobody had experience there. So I finally found somebody who had a little bit of experience to be my supervisor for my project. So, but out there, nobody actually knows what OT is, basically. Just speaking.
Did you know Gene Spafford?
No.
Okay. But it's funny because you think Purdue is such a phenomenal engineering school.
Actually, Chad was the one from Purdue.
Yeah, I'm the one from Purdue.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Anyways, the whole point I'm getting at is the things I'm talking about occur at Stanford, Berkeley, Princeton, MIT, across the board. It's, people will talk and use the word OT, but they're not using the term OT in the context of a pump, a valve, a turbine, a transformer, a protective relay. And the people that will talk about that won't talk about cybersecurity. That's our gap.
And Carlisle, you got your bachelor's in cyber from CBC, right? Did they talk about OT much, like Joe was talking about? And
No, they didn't
about-
talk about OT much. Occasionally there'd be reference to it, but it would always be closer to stuff that is like extracurricular.
Yeah. And our state senator was your professor there.
Matt Benke, yes.
Yeah. So I've tried to invite him to it, but the last 4 years he's not wanted to come. I also tried to get Pisces came last year, but he Wouldn't return any of my phone calls. Steve Stein from Pisces.org or PiscesInternational.org. So I want to share something to answer, since we're getting close to the end. I was finding sites for, I was going to tell, is the InfraGard website. Recommend, I joined the FBI InfraGard. I couldn't get my login to work because I haven't logged in a year. Partnership between FBI and members of the private sector. And so, and of the Washington InfraGard, I urge people to join InfraGard because by being a member of InfraGard, I got free training, 4 days of training given by Idaho Labs on cybersecurity last May. And I could have taught the OT course on the Monday, but on the remaining 3 days that Idaho National Lab were teaching, I felt like an infant dealing with using Kali Linux analysis tools, and I still can't do much. But I also want to show you the regions, since they couldn't attend because they're on furlough. Dan Brown from Spokane and Ron Waters from Seattle. And for you, Chad, I was telling you, you ought to join InfraGard. You're in Region 4. Let's see if it brings up any officers.
Yeah. I actually put the application in yesterday for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can talk to Kate Nichols. And so.
By the way, InfraGard and the FBI are here with the training going on here.
Yeah. And the other thing for cybersecurity, the last 2 years, I'm looking for the cybersecurity summit. Oh, come on. I must have hit a. Also, by being a by being an InfraGard member, I one last thing, cyber, SECURITY, SUMMIT. I obviously clicked a. They have various, by being an InfraGard member, I was given free, as being a member of InfraGard, free membership in the single day session in the Seattle conference. I decided not to go today or this year, last month, but I had gone the previous 2 years. And so Cybersecurity Summit, you can, in the chat, Control A, Control C, and put this in the, and you can go to the chat and find one that's in your area, Chad, or you might.
Brad, I'm going to have to go, but I just wanted to leave you with one thing. The Cybersecurity Summit that's in Silicon Valley has not at all addressed OT, much less control systems.
Yeah, so let's see if we can get the vendors summits. You can see the upcomings. Salt Lake.
I mean, when I went because it was local.
Yeah,
you know?
Me too. I went to Bellevue.
Every time I brought up the word OT or control systems, it was like I was from outer space.
Yep.
If I would have used the word ransomware, everybody would have talked to me.
Yep. I found that as well. But
Joe, I was going to say, at some point, I would love to connect with you because exactly what you're talking about is what I have been actively pushing for within my organization. in the things I do every day. Coming from the IT side in my background and now into more OT, what you're talking about is like exactly what I've been trying to do. So,
What, can you send me your contact info?
yeah,
And again,
absolutely.
you're who? I apologize.
Chad Bedwell. This first
I'm
time
calling up
joining
the shared
this.
screen. I'm calling up your
Okay. Yeah.
your contact. You can probably go to do a
Well, I
connection.
can give you my email. Chad, where do you work, or who do you work for?
I work for Mott McDonald. It's an engineering firm,
Hey,
global engineering firm, Mott McDonald.
yep.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
I'm
just
the North and South America OT cybersecurity lead.
yeah.
So,
I mean, ironically, here there's umpteen people here who use the term OT.
mhm.
There are very few people here that are engineers.
Yeah.
Let's see. So
Understood.
life fellow, 40 years. You can probably
But,
go into Connect and put.
Well, let's see.
yeah, so
Yeah, if you're interested, my email
Okay.
is
Yep.
Joe.weiss, Joe.weiss at real, REAL, time, TIME, A, C as in Charlie, S as in Sam.com. So it's Joe.weiss at realtimeacs.com.
Okay. I got
And
it.
I think you all might find the latest blog I put out of interest, because there's a person who heads up the European Risk Policy Institute. I have to be careful. It's ERPI, not EPRI. But he had put a like out to the blog I put out that people just can't identify control system cyber incidents. And what he put out, I thought was the neatest thing. And that's why I put a blog out on this. And that's that, I'll read you, this is the greatest thing. He goes, I said, the OT cybersecurity community continues to ignore control system cyber incidents. A governance failure masquerading as a vocabulary issue. This is where we are. If it doesn't look like what people are used to seeing, it doesn't count. And that's why the things that kill people, damage equipment, you name it, are not considered to be cyber incidents, because it's not what they're used to seeing.
And Joe,
let me
when
let
you're
me ask-
talking about no OT incident was recognized as an incident, but a glitch. I looked for the remembered Colonial Pipeline that got so much airplay.
I know,
In the
and it
news.
had absolutely positively nothing whatsoever to do with OT. It was an IT problem, period. And they shut the pipeline down because the information they needed to operate the pumps or the system safely had been, if you will, compromised or encrypted. So it had absolutely nothing whatsoever to do with cyber affecting any piece of control system equipment. And the other that I think is so important, the old smart water, quote unquote, cyber attack turned out to be not a cyber attack, it was user error. But that incident is what is involved behind EPA's, water cybersecurity net requirements. And ironically, it's all based not on a cyber attack, but on user error.
That was it down in Tampa?
Yep.
Yeah.
Joe, I wanted to ask you, so there has been some nomenclatures and terms that have been interchanged industrial control systems, automation,
Yeah.
and OT.
Yep.
So when are we gonna start calling it one name? OT.
I don't know that we ever will. Here's the funny part. In the engineering world, forget about cyber. It's automation. I was one of them that came up with the term ICS all the way back when. And the reason was when we first were doing this in 2002, the organizations that were involved were all quote unquote smokestack industries. So using the word industrial at that point in time made sense. It doesn't make sense anymore because control systems are used in non-smokestack industries. And so, for example, medical devices, DOD, some, Silicon Valley type manufacturing don't consider themselves to be industrial. So they say if it says ICS, it doesn't apply to us, even though you're talking about sensors and PLCs and actuators, of which they have thousands. So the term industrial is the one term I wish we didn't have.
Yeah, and also just like the building management systems, those are PLCs technically, and they are calling themselves something else, something different, basically. So
yes,
I believe OT should be the general nomenclature for everything.
No,
and, yeah.
My personal feeling is the answer is not is no, because again, there isn't a single university that offers a degree in OT. They offer a degree, like I say, in electrical, mechanical, chemical, nuclear. OT is not a recognized term outside of security.
Well, a lot of people in ISA throw that term around.
Sure they do, because a lot of people, but the point I'm getting at, get yourself away from, and I'm still saying within ISA, but the bottom line is that when you get a PE, you get a PE, again, the same thing, electrical, mechanical systems. They're starting to offer software, engineering PEs, but there's no PE for OT or for control system cyber.
Joe, where will you said your paper with the other IT person from the
Yeah, we're in the process of
which IEEE venue is that going to be presented at?
IEEE Computer Magazine.
Okay, Computer Mag, that's right. I thought there was an event, a PCI conference.
Yeah, it's seminal. Nobody has ever done this before.
Okay.
Where we've had not only both sides write it, but to have each talk about the limitations of their area. This has never happened before. It's normally one side, pardon my French, bitching about the other side.
Yeah.
This is each side recognizing they're part of the problem.
Okay, we'll let you go. Get back to the Accelerate. Thank you, Joe, for taking part.
Any other questions before I go?
No questions.
Okay.
Okay. Brad, thanks. Sorry, I have to officially eat and run.
Thank you for taking the time. So let's see.
Okay.
Let's see.
We'll see everybody later. Thank you.
Yeah.
Bye.
See ya.
Bye.
Okay. Let's see. So, Carlisle, are you still there?
Yeah, I'm here, still here.
Okay, because Lori dropped off. So that's, let's see, Chad, you want to talk with Udo about the duties of a president? And Udo can tell you how much Ed and I have helped him. Hopefully not too much help. I know I've been kind of demanding to Udo, but
Yeah, I mean, any advice or, you know, what it's like, what goes on, the responsibilities, just want to get more involved and, you know,
Yeah.
Brad reached out and suggested that. So,
and
Yeah, just you know, putting together meetings like this and having member involvement, you know, to make members know that there are events going on as well.
Okay.
Yeah, so
okay,
then annual reports as well. That's a big one.
okay, I know Brad mentioned that. What
Really
kind of
does-
annual reports are we talking?
Just the end of the year reports.
Yeah,
Just fill
Okay.
out. Yeah.
And depending on whether I said whether we choose to go July 1st to June 30th, as opposed to January 1st, because that's traditionally the way all our ISA divisions have done it for 40 years, probably, right, Ed? We went from
As far
a
as I know.
September meeting through a May meeting, taking June, July, August off. You know, 30, 50 years ago, or actually 40 years ago. And so, but
Yeah, we can continue the conversation offline, you know. So
yeah,
sure.
but
Yeah.
I'm gonna stop.
Yeah.
I'm gonna stop the recording.
yeah, I just sent you a
Uh,
LinkedIn request as well so that you can connect.
Okay, perfect.
I gotta
Sounds
get
good.
going. My battery